Success, okay? What is success? What is this thing called success? For me, let me tell you what it is, okay? Success is the difference between my potential and my reality. If you've ever wondered why extremely successful people, these guys are extremely successful, okay? They cannot, if you measure success by money, they cannot possibly spend the money that they have worked so hard to create. It's impossible, okay? Would that be fair to say? So look, a lot of people think when they think success, they think somebody's talking about money. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about the achievement of the gap. I want to close the gap. I want to close the gap between my potential and what I'm experiencing. And that could be in my marriage, it could be with my children, it could be as a father, it could be as a role model, it could be as a businessman, it could be as a trainer, it could be as, what's my potential? It could be working out in the gym, it could be my body, right? What is my potential? Here's my reality. I'm 4 or 5 pounds overweight. What's my reality? Oh, my reality is the perfect way. Why don't I go for that? See, the achievement of this gap is what actually drives the individual. If you've ever been dissatisfied with your life, where your life is, you don't know it, maybe you don't know it, but now you know it. It's because the gap isn't filled up. This is what drives people to continue on, to keep going, because they're looking to fulfill this gap. That's what should drive you, okay? Now, I wrote a book in the last, Rick made this comment, okay? In 2008, when the economy collapsed, how many remember when Lehman collapsed, right? Remember? How do you get the images out of your head? 2 most significant events in my life were when I was 25 years old, I was selling automobiles because it was the only job I could get. And I hated my job. I hated selling cars. And a guy came to me one day and he said to me, he's like, man, when are you going to commit? I'm like, huh? He's like, you keep talking about the car business and how bad the car business is and you hate the car business and you don't like selling cars and you didn't get a degree to sell cars. He's like, when are you going to commit? And I'm like, what are we talking about? He's like, dude, you don't commit. You're going to hate everything you do. Car business isn't a problem. It's your lack of commitment. That was a turning point for me. I'm like, oh, the guy's right. He told me the truth. My problem was I never committed. How can I be great at anything if you don't commit? Nobody wants to be average. Look, average is an epidemic in this country. You guys noticing that? How many of you notice? Everybody's okay with being average. Average grades, average participation, average involvement, average money, average lifestyles, right? Most people living beyond their average only when it comes to spending, not when it comes to greatness. Hey man, let me tell you something. What is happening to the middle class right now is not the banks and it's not politics. It's because the middle class, the beliefs of the middle class do no longer work. They're built on average. They're built on just enough. I've been wanting to write books since I was 6 years old. How many of you would like to write a book one day? Everybody should. So I wrote a book. This book was written on a Sunday afternoon after Lehman collapsed. It took 3 hours to write that book. That book had been pent up in me waiting to be written. Now, the reason I'm writing books is why? Keep in mind, just do the math here. The average American reads 1 book a year. The average American reads 1 book a year. Half the books sold in this country are romance novels. So folks, you got to learn, all right? You have to learn things like this. There's 4 levels of action. You do these every day. Okay? There's 4 levels of action. You know what no action is, right? That's that empty chair next to you. That's somebody not taking action. They didn't fill the chair up. They're not here. Okay? Everybody in the room has done this before. You didn't take an action. You had an idea. I'm going to go do this interview, and then you didn't show up for it. Okay? Number 2 is retreat. You actually back up from something. You had a bad experience. You asked a girl out. She said no. So you're like, you know what? I'm done. I'm staying home. I'm going to be by myself. That's a retreat. You have retreated. Maybe you made an investment. It didn't work out. I'll never do that again. Maybe you saw your mom get foreclosed on. You saw her get foreclosed. And you've decided, by the way, a lot of millennials have decided never to buy a home. Why? They saw their parents buy homes, get foreclosed on, and they think, I'm going to retreat from that activity. The third, which is the most dangerous, by the way, if you're taking notes, number 3 is the most dangerous of all 4, is normal levels of activity. Because normal levels of activity are tricky. See, number 1 and number 2 aren't tricky. Would you agree? Guy's not doing anything. He's loafing. He's at home smoking weed, doing nothing. Whatever, right? It happens. Is that a real world example? So the guy's doing nothing, or he's in retreat. Those are obvious. You can see somebody when they're retreating. But the third one's tricky, right? Because he actually looks like he's doing something. He's the most dangerous employee you can have. He's the most dangerous friend you can have. Because he tells you, dude, hey, we studied. We studied, man. Come on, let's go play now. We did our part. It's normal, okay? It's nothing exceptional or extraordinary about this level of action. It is what everybody does. And the problem with that is you get lost with everybody. Number 4, which I believe is the only level of activity that you want to operate at, is massive amounts of activity. Now, massive, for you to be at massive levels of activity, this is what you would have to do. You'd have to have new problems, okay? I'm going to go take enough action like this morning, okay? I know that I'm in massive when I wake up in the morning and I have 4 things to do that I've committed to that I can't get out of. Massive action, massive activity levels will create new problems. If you don't have new problems, everybody's got problems. Raise your hand if you got a problem in your life. Everybody's got them, right? You're always going to have them. There's no way to get rid of them. When you leave here, that's how you need to operate. Because otherwise, nobody will know you exist, because the first 3 don't exist. In the real world, nobody pays them. Nobody pays attention to them. Nobody will know you even walked in a room. Would you agree? The 4th one is exceptional. My whole life has been about me setting the value for what I'm worth. If you do not determine your own value in the marketplace will never pay you what you're worth. Ever.